I'd like to welcome all of you to the New India Foundation Book Award. The New India Foundation is a literary trust that was set up in 2005. It was set up by Ram, Guha and myself over lunch at Koshi's. And this was the time that Ram was just finishing his book, India After Gandhi. And he was bemoaning the fact that there are very few books about India after independence. So everybody who writes a book writes about ancient India or something, but nobody writes about India after independence. And so he said that we should create some kind of a way to encourage young Indians to write about India after 1947 on any topic, on any eclectic topic. There was no bar except that it should be something about post-independent India. And I thought it was a great idea, and we set this up in 2005, and it's been a long, very good journey, and more than 40 people have been given the fellowships. 22 books have come out of this program, and there are 10 more in the pipeline. And a couple of years back, we said that we need to bring in fresh blood into the trust. So Manish, Sabharwal and Srinath, Raghavan have joined as the trustees, and they do all the heavy lifting now, and we just come for functions. No, but Ram does a lot of work. And actually the credit for this should go to Ram, because apart from the fact that we were all having a jury to select these fellowships, he actually provided the mentoring for all these young writers to write these books, which is why you have such a high hit rate, where there are already 22 books out and another 12 are on the way. So that's the broad history. And of course, we also have an annual lecture. And this, of course, is the first time we are having the book award. So with that, I'll hand over to Ram, who's done all the phenomenal work on New India Foundation. Ram.
Thank you, Nandan. As Nandan said, this was the New India Foundation was conceived at a lunch over Koshi's, and it's been run ever since through the generosity of Nandan and Roni Nilekani. And they've been quite extraordinary philanthropists because they haven't interfered at all. Many of our friends have been refused the fellowship. Some of our enemies have actually got the fellowship. So that's how we've tried to run it. Now, we decided 2 years ago to hand it over to these two youngsters. And I can promise Nandan that unlike some other jobs he's given up, he will not be called back to run the New India Foundation. And I'm also giving it all up. So these two young fellows are absolutely sterling. And even if Nandan and I want to come back, I think we are just here for decoration once a year at this award. Now, we have these fellowships. We also instituted an annual lecture. And some wonderful people have given the lecture. They include Jean Drez, Esther Duflo, Yogendra Yadav, Raghuram Rajan, Arvind Subramanian. And Manish and Srinath were very keen that we also had a book prize, which they've completely organized and conceived and brought to fruition today. My modest contribution to the book prize was to give the name. You know, one of the nice things about our foundation, and indeed one of the nice things about this festival, is that it originates from Bangalore. It's citizen-driven, it's local, of course it's got global appeal. There are some people here from very far. And I thought in the spirit of what we've done so far, we should name the prize after a great Indian, a great Kannadiga, Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay. Now, what was special about Kamala Devi, and indeed unique, was that she had multiple careers. She was the first woman involved in the salt satyagraha. She was the first woman to fight an election in India. She was a great actor on the stage. She single-handedly revived the handicrafts sector in India. She did major work in refugee rehabilitation. She built many great institutions such as the Sahitya Academy, the Lalit Kala Academy, the India International Center, and so on. And of course, she was born in our state. So it's named after her in tribute to a great Indian, a great Kannadiga, someone who contributed in many spheres of life. Just as our foundation is not only about politics or economics. We publish books on the Telugu film industry. We have a book coming on the sociology of football. We've done books, of course, on the rise of the entrepreneurial class, on technology. So Kamala Devi, we felt, was someone who embodied some of what we hope to do in our foundation. I'll now hand over to Srinath, who will tell you more about the book prize itself.
Thank you, Ram, and good evening to all of you. As Ram said, the New India Foundation Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay Book Prize was instituted, and the criteria for the book prize really was that we wanted to give it to a book published in the previous calendar year. So in this case, it is a book published in the year 2017, a book which is a non-fiction book dealing with modern India. And here the the criterion of inclusion for consideration in the prize were very capacious. We were completely ecumenical as to the genre of the book. People could write memoirs. We were willing to consider autobiographies, biographies, various kinds of standard social sciences, history, etc. And in the first year, we invited nominations for the book, and we were extremely gratified to receive nearly 60 book nominations published in the year 2017 on modern India for being considered for this book prize. As Ram mentioned, Manish and I came up with this idea of having a book prize, which of course means that our fellow trustees have more work to do. So Ram Guha actually ended up chairing the jury, which also had Professor Nirja Gopal Jayal, Dr. Rukmini Banerjee, Nandan Nilekani, Manish Sabharwal, and myself. The jury considered the 60 books and came up with a shortlist, which actually in many ways is testimony to this extraordinary moment of vitality and interest that we are seeing in non-fiction writing about modern and contemporary India. From a list of about 60, we came down to a shortlist of 6, which is an eclectic mixture of history, memoir, legal and economic analysis, as well as political science. The 6 books shortlisted for the first New India Foundation Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay Book Prize were in alphabetic order: Abhinav Chandrachud for The Republic of Rhetoric, Free Speech and Constitution of India; Remnants of a Separation, A History of Partition Through Material Memory by Anchal Mehrotra; The Broken Ladder, The Paradox and Potential of India's 1 Billion by Anirudh Krishna; Ants Among Elephants, An Untouchable Family and the Making of Modern India by Sujata Gidla; When Crime Pays, Money and Muscle in Indian Politics by Milan Vaishnav; and Social Justice Through Inclusion, The Consequences of Electoral Quotas in India by Francesca Jensenius. As this list suggests, the jury had to cover an extraordinary range of subjects in coming up with the book prize. So if nothing else, I think we are all reasonably well educated for this year, and we hope to sort of continue this exercise in the coming years as well. As with any such prize, given the range and diversity of approaches, of topics, and the sheer importance of each and every book in the shortlist, the jury had a very difficult call on its hands. And I'm delighted to announce that the first winner of the New India Foundation Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay Prize is When Crime Pays by Milan Vaishnav. May I request Milan to please join us on the stage. Milan Vaishnav's book, When Crime Pays, is an extraordinarily ambitious work of political science. It is his first book, which is all the more remarkable for the fact that a book which came out of an academic background actually had the ambition to tackle one of the central problems and paradoxes of Indian politics, which is the role of money, crime, and corruption, and the sort of whole nexus of criminality which suffuses Indian democracy and makes it such a paradoxical sort of process. And Milan Vaishnav's book is remarkable for many counts. In the first place, it gives us a very clear, accessible framework within which to think about how and why crime has become such an important part of the spectacle of our democracy. It is an extraordinary work of empirical investigation. He has constructed a database looking at various kinds of financial contributions to political parties and so on, and the criminal records of various politicians, which is again a truly unique contribution in terms of method and approach. And the third thing is that while it's a book coming out of an academic background, it is eminently accessible to all of us. It's a fantastic read. There are very good characters out there. So it's a very good combination of qualitative, quantitative social science put out in the most readable of fashion. And above all, as I said, tackling a subject which is very central to our democracy and arguably one of the most interesting things to look out for as we move into the 2019 general elections. In order to give away this prize to Milan Vaishnav, it's my honor to introduce Professor Belcher Rao, who needs no introduction to this audience, but is easily one of the great towering literary historians of our time. I was just talking to him, and Professor Narayan Rao told me that he has come back to India to live in India after 50 years in the United States, a lifetime of scholarship, which hopefully will see its consummation in his native country. So, Professor Narayan Rao, thank you very much for being here. I request you to please give away the first Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay NIF Prize to Milan Vaishnav. So, yes. Yeah. So the prize is a cash prize of 15 lakhs, which Professor Narayan Rao will give away to Milan Vaishnav. Yeah, so just to make clear, just because I said a cash prize, it does not mean we're actually giving cash. It's a check, so transparency is part of our agenda, as Nandan just reminds me on stage. Milan, may I request you to please come and say a few words? It's our delight to have you here.
Good evening, everyone. I've never won anything before, not even a school raffle, so this is really quite a treat. It's hard to know where to begin. First of all, let me just acknowledge the other authors and books who are nominated for this prize. The books by Abhinav, by Anshul, by Anirudh, Francesca, and Sujata are all books that I've had the chance to read and have inspired me and taught me so much. So just to be mentioned, you know, in the same breath as them really is quite remarkable. Of course, I'd like to thank the New India Foundation, Professor Rao for giving me this award, Nandan, Manish, Ram, Srinath. I think there are two other members of the jury, Rukmini Banerjee and Nirja Jayal, who couldn't be here. These are all people that I've learned from, who have been gurus in a sense. And you know, just the idea that they picked up my book, much less given me this prize, is just really a thrill of a lifetime. So thank you, and thanks to all of you for being here. I have to say that it restores one's faith in humanity at a very difficult time to see so many people picking up books, reading books, as authors buying books. That's really terrific. As with any book, there's always a unique story or history to each book. This book began in the summer of 2008. Those of you who were here may recall that summer there was a pivotal vote of no confidence that the then UPA government faced over the US-India civil nuclear deal. And the votes were expected to be quite tight, and so the government, in a moment of desperation, decided to temporarily release 6 jailed lawmakers who were in jail but still active members of the Lok Sabha, to come and vote on the floor of Parliament, and after they cast their vote, to go back to jail. Nearly all of these lawmakers were not just indicted, but actually convicted of murder. And I remember seeing this on the television screen in New Delhi, thinking how odd it was that no one was commenting on this. You know, they just sort of, it was background noise. Everyone just said, you know, this is just the way things are. And so I spent the summer of 2008 talking to everyone that I knew in India. Could you tell me why these people are in politics? You know, why do parties give them tickets? Why do voters vote for them? And everyone had their own pet theory or hypothesis, but no one really had the story. And so I said, you know, tell me the book I can read. You know, what's out there? What will, you know, I'm just out of curiosity. And by the end of the summer, I concluded that if I really wanted to know the answer, that I was going to have to write the book myself. And at the time, I was a PhD student, you know, kind of flailing around as one does, looking for a dissertation. And over the course of really 8 years it took to write this book, I spent time in India on political campaigns, talking to voters, talking to parties, trying to understand, you know, kind of what makes this marriage of of politics and criminals work. And this could only be done through the help of so many individuals, research assistants, scholars, friends, people in the audience like Ashutosh Varshni who spent their time providing me feedback and comments. And so I hope for those of you who have a chance to take a look at the book, what it tries to do is provide a kind of framework for understanding this marriage of criminal and politics. You know, what are the supply factors that inject these individuals into the marketplace, as it were? And I think more interestingly, what is it that makes voters who have a choice in a free and fair election vote for these candidates who have these criminal reputations? And not just, I should say, any criminal reputations, quite often reputations of a serious nature. And most importantly, the last bit of the book tries to address this issue of, if we believe that this is a pressing challenge for Indian democracy, and I believe it is, what are the tools that we have at our disposal as citizens, as members of civil society, the judiciary, the media, to tackle this challenge? And so I hope it's a book that is informative, and with any book, it provokes more questions, perhaps, than it answers. But my ultimate hope is that it provides some modest contribution to understanding this challenge. I think often we kind of jump towards tackling a challenge without fully understanding it, without amassing the data, without amassing the kind of theory, without testing our hypotheses, and that's what the book sets out to do. And as we head towards, as Srinath mentioned, a general election, hopefully it's a book that will illuminate some of our political patterns here in India. And again, I'd just like to thank all of you for being here. Thank the New India Foundation. It's just a delight and honor and a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Just wanted to thank everybody on behalf of New India Foundation for coming today. Of course, all of you in the audience. Dr. Narayan Rao for giving away the prize. I think Ram is the most successful intellectual venture capitalist there is in this country. He has a 60% conversion rate. I don't think anybody beats that. And obviously, New India Foundation is what it is because of him. I think Nandan and Rohini are the best kamdhenus any foundation can have. We thank them. They leave us alone and they give us what we want. Obviously, BLF for hosting us. And the only thing I'd leave you with is please check out the New India Foundation website. Everybody has a book inside them. We need a lot more books written about post-1947 India. Besides the money, you get mentorship, you get access to many other resources. And so please do check out the website and let anybody know who wants to write a book that we would be happy to look at their fellowships objectively. Every 2 years, we hand out about 10. So thank you all for coming and have a great evening, the rest of it.